Doctor, look.
Stand aside, nurse. I'm Dr. Homebrew.
Stand clear.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's Dr. Homebrew Quarantine Edition. We're here. This is our first quarantine show, I believe. I am stuck at home in Oakley. I say stuck. I'm in the best place I could possibly be right now, and I'm joined via the internet, which is still a thing. Who knew? With Brian Cooper and Brian Shar, who are both, I think, holed up in the same hotel room. Am I mistaken on that?
No. We're way more than 6 feet apart from one another.
Okay.
I'm here at home in Martinez, man.
Nice.
Beautiful Martinez. Always part of the Brewing Network.
That's right.
I'm in scenic Tracy, California.
Well, does it smell like cow poopy out there, or is that gone now?
Yeah, all the beers smell like cow poop, so I have to adjust them up a few points.
I love
it.
Well, it
smells COVID-y.
There you go. Well, it's like chlorine gas, where like if you smell it, you have some time, but if you see it, you're already dead. That kind of thing. That's how it is out in COVID land. We do have some beers from home brewers who were kind enough to mail both Brian's individual packages.
Yes, thank you very much, brewers.
Yeah, because there's no logistical way, even though I sort of did, I don't want to do it again. It was like going to fall on me to drive out to the back roads of Livermore and then come back and then go over to Martinez. And it's like, I don't want to do that. That's an hour in each direction for me. So you guys are saving a little wear and tear on me personally, but also it's the best way to get the beers to Brian and Brian for the moment right now. So I appreciate you guys for sending beers to the boys. And so we're going to talk to these brewers coming up here in just a little bit. But I wanted to check in real fast with you guys. How are you guys, keeping up your spirits among the lockdown, which was just now extended in our area for a whole nother month?
Yeah. Man, I'm doing fine. I'm my job is considered essential, so I'm actually at work.
Okay.
It's quieter than being at home with my kids, so you guys will be happy about that. But I did take a good stretch off just after Easter. I took Good Friday and then the week after that off and had 10 days to kind of shelter in place and experience this. And I know that I can understand the stir crazy. I mean, for me, it was a novelty. But yeah, the stir craziness that people are experiencing, having weeks on end of that, by the end of the 10 days, I was kind of ready to go back to my scene here. We didn't do much. We got out the patio furniture and it was nice out. We had a good week and really, did a lot of fun things at home and tried to make, keep things going. But it's very different right now. And our heart goes out to anyone who's personally affected by this thing. And it's just,
it sucks.
It's sad, but the effort that everybody's making to stay isolated and stay 6 feet apart is, the runners that go by me when I'm out on the path running and they veer this way. And it's like, it's a happy day. People veer like you stink like a rotten piece of cheese. And you just love it. You're not offended. And everybody's so friendly out here. It's, in the suburban kind of areas, in Livermore where I live, everybody's very friendly. And a lot of people are out getting exercise and enjoying the sunshine safely. And I think that's great.
Shar, what about you? How are you doing? You are considerably older than both Cooper and myself put together, probably. So
considerably, yes. Yeah. I'm here in my 90s. So the 1990s. My office is about a mile away. It's actually down the block from the old Brewing Network studios.
Oh, great!
Over Luigi's Deli there in Martinez.
Oh man, I miss
it's
Luigi.
Just me in my office anyway. So I just go to my office like I would anyway, because I'm by myself anyway.
Okay.
So not that much difference in my day-to-day life. I generally don't see a lot of people during the day the best of times. So it's pretty normal for me. My daughter is 12, almost 13, and she's about to go insane because they've canceled school for the rest of the school year, and they're doing that distance learning stuff, which everyone's doing their best to make that work, the students and the teachers. But it's tough when you're 12 and you want to see your friends and do stuff and you have activities, and all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, the school musical you've been practicing for months. Oh yeah, we can't do it.
Right.
You can't see your friends. And it's tough when you're 12, almost 13.
Yeah.
I do feel for the kids.
Oh, for sure. Tara and I were talking about how bad it must be for teenagers, because at this, at 14 to 16, right? Or apparently even 12, because the most important thing in the world is hanging out with your friends. And the last thing you ever want to do is spend a moment with your parents. And now you're all sort of jammed in together. That's got to be very tough on the teen brain.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's very good. I'm glad you guys are coping. I'm glad you guys are staying far apart from people with, in certain circumstances, I suppose. And that's what we're doing.
Each other.
Yeah, especially each other. That's what we're doing out here in Oakley. The last thing I want to do is go into the studio. So this is going to be it for at least a couple of shows. I don't know. We'll see. Even when the shelter in place is sort of lifted, I don't know. We'll see. We're at least going to do, so these are shows for April. We're at least going to do 2 more shows for May in this remote setup. And then, who knows? If we open it up, we'll see what happens. But anyway, Brian Cooper, who is our first guest who I should get on the phone here?
It is our new friend. Well, first we want to thank 5 Star for being our sponsor.
Absolutely.
And I want to thank them for supporting a hobby that is probably thriving in this new environment. And I hear a lot of people are brewing more than ever.
Yeah.
They're going to need some PBW. They're going to need some more Star Sand, stock that stuff up and keep your beers clean and keep your equipment clean and keep it going. So thank you to 5 Star. We always want to do that. And I will say one other thing just briefly is, please, we're hearing a lot in the news about craft breweries that are suffering, and you can homebrew all you want, please. But, I've been working hard to kind of support my local craft breweries. I haven't, I've been drinking all local beers for the most part. Had a few commercials around, but just craft beer, support it, keep them going, buy some cans, show up. They've been really good about practicing social distancing. And they'll sit at their door and give you 4-packs, or buy a case of those 4-packs or 2.
Yeah, I agree with both of those points. 5starchemicals.com. Check them out. Please support them. They keep paying us to be here for you. And, we obviously wouldn't be doing that for just anybody. So check them out, 5starchemicals.com. And yeah, drinking locally, I have been basically drinking local beer only. That's really all I drink. It's mainly Sierra Nevada. But a couple of weeks ago, my friend Brad went up to Heretic, and he and I split a bunch of beers. And then I ordered some beer from Crooked Lane, our co-host on the session, Teresa. She is shipping beer in California. You can go to the crookedlanebrewery.com or whatever. Yeah, and shipping's like $10, and you have to get a case, but you build your own case. And there's all sorts of beer on there that they'll can, and they'll drop it off. I ordered Friday, afternoon. Saturday morning, 9:36. Someone knocks on the door, leaves a case of beer on I'm like, wow. And they're up in Auburn. So that was cool. Society, our friend Dougie from Society, they're shipping beer in California as well. So my friend Brad and I, Weasel, we split a shipment of beer, and I still owe him money. I still owe money for that. So there's that going on, which makes me feel a little bit more comfortable, because I am a little weirded out about this whole thing. I have anxiety anyways. So even though everyone's practicing things or whatever, don't be upset if you own a brewery and people, like I don't show up, because I'm not gonna. I don't know. I don't even do my own shopping. I get it delivered. It's just that's the vibe I'm on right now, and it's fine. But I know Vito was supposed to be our old timey friend Vito. He's been on a few shows. He's from Doe's, but
Vito DeLucci. Yeah.
he's opened a brewery, Imperial Beer Project.
Yeah.
I think is what it's called, in Brentwood, which is 10 minutes down my street. I haven't been there yet because I'm waiting. I don't know. I'm waiting to feel a little bit better about it. And I told him, I was like, look, I apologize. He's like, look, we have cans. We'll do the 6-foot thing. Like, we're very good at this. I'm like, I know, but I just give me a second. So if you're in the area, it's worth a drive to Brentwood, especially if you want to get out of the house. Imperial, I think it's Imperial Beer Project, right, Bri?
Yeah, that's what they're called.
All right. Great beers. I've had some of his beers that have been collabs before. We've had them on the show. Like I said, beers are great. So if you're looking for some new beers, some new flavors, check them out. Tell Vito we said hi. All right.
When you got your heretic beers,
my Altamont Maui Wowie right here.
Nice.
And if you know the people, a lot of times they'll put it right in the back of your car for you. They do total contactless. You can wear gloves and bring it into your house, sanitize everything. I pretty much sanitize a lot of things that come into my house.
Me too.
The mail and all that stuff. I'm not paranoid. It's just being smart these days.
Right, exactly. And that's the way I feel about it too. Like it may be overkill, but I don't care. Yeah. It makes me feel like I have some amount of control. And I'm okay with that. It's not hurting anybody. I'm not like panicked about it, but I just want to be, I want to be legit with the whole thing. So
it saves you from getting sick or somebody's grandma from dying. It's worth it.
Yeah.
So JP, when you got those heretic beers, did you get any of that heretic hand sanitizer?
I did, and I haven't used it. I got a little bottle for me, a little bottle for Brad, and then I got a big bottle, and I donated that to Brad's wife, Cindy, who works at Kaiser.
Ah, nice.
Yeah,
nice,
because again, they were running out of. This is where we are. This is where we are right now. Is where our hospital staff is relying on donations, which just is terrible, but it is what it is. So, so I got some of that. The sanitizer that Jamil's making is called Germ Juice, and I think it's the greatest name possibly for any product ever.
That is awesome.
I totally agree. I was excited to go up there and get some, but he ended up selling it at the brewery like 1 or 2 days, sold out, and then went to like selling 5-gallon tubs of it or donating it directly to first responders.
Good. Well, he should.
Yep.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man. So a lot of good people doing good stuff out there. A lot of breweries being impacted, and it is tough. But over here on the homebrew side of things, like you said, Brian Cooper, people are homebrewing like crazy, and I even maybe started to get a little itch about homebrewing. I'm not going to.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not going to do it, of course, but I sort of miss it. Cooper, who are we talking to?
We're calling Keith from Virginia.
Keith from Virginia. All right. Well, let's get Keith on the line here. I am excited to get back into a little bit of Dr. Homebrew. I did miss talking to you guys and talking to the home brewers and chatting about homebrew. Keith, are you there? Keith is not there.
Well, we are using a new communications mode right here.
That's true. We are.
Like everyone. Surprisingly, we're not using Zoom like everybody else in the world seems to be.
Well, we could have, but I'm more familiar with this setup, so we'll just.
I don't care. I've got no preference either way. I mean, it's all the same thing as far as I'm concerned.
You're right. Exactly. Maybe next time we will. But why am I having a hard time calling Keith? I'm having a hard time getting a hold of him.
You got his phone number? Yeah.
Yeah. Right off the email there is what I'm.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just reconfirmed with everybody today. They said it was the right numbers. Hopefully, we're not having a technological difficulty.
Oh, is he calling? He's calling me back. Why is he calling me? Go away. Stop calling me, Keith. This is the part of like doing live radio and stuff that I hate. This stuff sucks because it's like, well, then now people are listening to this. And then while I'm calling him, I'm trying to figure out if I should delete it or not or whatever. Keith.
Hey, we got him.
Hey, what's going on?
Not much, man. What's up with you?
Oh, not much. Tasting some of my beers along with y'all.
Nice. Oh, good.
I appreciate
Yeah.
that. Well, Keith, before we get into your beers, are you on a headset? Because I can sort of hear myself.
Yeah, I have it on Bluetooth. I can turn it off that if you want me to.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
It'll just sound a little better. Thanks, man.
Okay. Better?
I think so.
Much better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Before we get into your beers, bro, how long have you been brewing? And pardon me for calling you bro. We don't know each other like that, so it just slipped. It slipped out. What do you want? I don't know.
It's a bro name. I get it. Just about 2 years.
Oh, 2 years. Damn, dude. You're a little baby. You're a little homebrewer baby.
Oh, yeah.
And what beer are we trying? Brian, what beer are we trying with Keith right now?
We're going to taste this Belgian Blonde Ale.
That's such a good beer, dude. Where did you get this recipe from?
Well, I pulled the malt bill from the AHA website. I can't remember exactly which one I used.
Okay.
And then I kind of just went with it for the hops. I had some East Kent Golding left over. I just did a regular, hop rate for blondes.
Okay. Excellent. Man, I like that. I wish I could be drinking some of it now, but unfortunately, I'll have to rely on the expert, nay, master descriptions from Brian and Brian to talk about this. Is this your first Belgian Blonde?
Yeah, this is my first one.
Okay. What do you think? What do you think about it? The boys have already judged it, so I don't care what they say. What do you think about it? Where do you think it lands?
I like it, but sometimes me liking my own kind of concerns me because the two I had before that were kind of just flops.
Yeah.
So, I taste this. I said, there's no way this is as, good as I personally think so. So I was going to submit them to competitions. I signed up for my first competition to enter it to get some real feedback. And then, stuff hit the fan and all those got canceled. So,
right.
Yeah.
Next best thing was shipping it to California, right?
There we go. Twice. Okay. Well, hey, Brian, eeny, meeny, miny, Shar. Brian Shar, why don't you go ahead and go first, man?
I thought we were starting with a different beer, so I don't have this one in front of me. So why don't we have Cooper go first? I'm going to go pour this Belgian Blonde right now.
Brian Cooper, let's go.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I just finished working and I judged the beer at work at my desk here, and I just yanked it out of my cooler. So it was probably a little colder than I would have hoped to have it when it was served. So I'm gonna probably, pardon me, I'll probably have some different tasting notes as I go along here through the description of this beer. But thank you for sharing it. And yeah, it's a category 25A in the 2015 guidelines. I thought in the nose, it has it's pleasantly malty and with a light kind of honey-like note and just a hint of a spicy hop. There's a low and maybe slightly kind of vegetal-like peppery note. It's more prominent than the esters. The fruity esters are pretty low. It's not a super fruity. It's nice to have a little more of the kind of orange-like or lemony character in these beers that you get in a lot of them. It's not coming through as much. I'm getting kind of a more of a muted honey-like malt behind that. At first, it was kind of snappier in the nose. Maybe it kind of thought I got kind of a little green pepper in the phenolic, but it's fading. It's kind of the more classic peppery, white peppery, phenolic. And there's no DMS or diacetyl. The alcohol is noticeable in the nose. It's not super sharp. It doesn't smell like higher alcohols. It's just kind of a little sweetness from the alcohol. The beer is a yellow colored beer with a medium low white head of finer bubbles. Persisted quite well, and the clarity is good. Only some minor haze going on here, and you can. It's generally a little clearer, but you could filter that out or find that out. In the flavor, getting a medium light grainy malt. It's accented with a modest amount of bitterness. It's not too much bitterness. I think it was maybe when it was colder, it was a little more biting and sharp to my palate. But peppery phenolic is medium in there and playing off that bitterness. And at first it was maybe a little harsher when it was colder, but now it's kind of smoothing out a little bit. Medium low spicy hop and Belgian, ale fermentation character is noticeable, but not over the top. Just a little bit of that pepperiness. The beer's balanced in the malt. Definitely some alcohol coming through here as well. There's kind of a sweetness. And earlier, again, it felt a little biting, but now it's a little less so. The mouthfeel is spritzy. This is quite a effervescent beer. High CO2, and it does have some slight warmth in the background. Not super creamy or smooth. It's just a little bit of a biting quality from that carbonic bite, I think, and possibly just a touch of astringency, but nothing too harsh in there. The warmth is kind of medium. It's smooth enough. It's not too bad. Overall, the Belgian Blonde Ale, fairly well crafted Belgian Blonde. Really not getting any glaring flaws here. Just some minor notes as I've gone over. A lot of these are just finer points. Just a little bit rough around the edges, at least when it was colder. And I still get a little bit of bite and a little bit of heat in the back of the throat, which to me says there's maybe something alcoholic about it, a little bit more higher alcohols that could be smoother in a slightly nicer example of the style. So not to say it's totally drinkable. It's pretty smooth. Could just use a little more of that the fruity yeast character, that kind of lemony oranginess in there. You can play around with different yeasts and work on your fermentation, the temperature, the ramping, the oxygenation, everything else. I guess the malt bill seemed like it was fairly simple. It's not super complex to me, but overall, I thought this fell into very good territory, kind of the middle of that. I would give it a 33.
Very good. That's not bad. Brian Shar, are you ready now?
I am ready.
All right, let's go.
Yeah, I definitely liked it. That aroma, got a clean Pilsner malt sweetness is the main aroma component. Got some sort of low honey, I think possibly from the alcohol. Low to medium, what I think of as Belgian fermentation esters, which are yeast derived. I got like a very low apple, which is appropriate in this beer. Not like a unpleasant DMS apple, but really perhaps more of a fermentation ester. It's really clean. I thought pretty complex. Gave it 10 out of 12. Appearance is a huge head that's quite persistent, light golden in color. There is a slight haze that I did knock a point off for. So I gave it 2 out of 3 for appearance. Flavor. Initially, the flavor is malty, sort of a Pilsner malt character from that, with sort of a low to medium hop bitterness to balance. Finish is balanced toward malt, as is the overall long aftertaste. There is like a really long aftertaste in this beer, which is nice. I get a low to medium sort of sweet ethanol that's not harsh at all. In these higher alcohol beers, you always are going to get some presence of alcohol that's noticeable, and you want that both but not just the aroma and the flavor, but also in the mouthfeel. And kind of the key to that is that it's not harsh. And I'll be curious later to hear about how you fermented this, because typically you avoid that harshness with temperature control, and you don't let the temperature take excursions way up to 75, 80, 85 degrees, where you get your fusel alcohols typically. Get sort of a low apple ester flavor, kind of matching what I got in the aroma. It's extremely well attenuated. And as it warms, I actually get a little bit of a grapefruit character, which I think is interesting. I think more as an ester than as a hop. So really like the flavor. The flavor was complex and interesting. Gave it 16 out of 20. Mouthfeel 5 out of 5. Medium body, medium warning. Warning. This is a good beer. It's medium warming, medium carbonation, creamy, not astringent. An overall impression, I gave it 9 out of 10. I really like this beer a lot. I think it's a really well-made Belgian. A little more clarity would be nice. Maybe you don't need to go to the trouble of filtering, but perhaps like a little cold crashing at the end of fermentation if you have that capability. But it's only a very slight amount of haze. And I know that Brian and I differed by quite a bit on this beer. And kind of the downside of doing this show where we're all 25 miles apart from each other is we're not all drinking out of the same bottle. And because we're drinking out of different bottles, it's impossible to tell if there's bottle variation between them. But overall, really liked it. I gave it 42 out of 50.
Wow. Yeah, we would have some discussing to do if we're drinking out of the same bottle, maybe we would have been closer. But I did like the beer as well. I thought it was very good. I could probably come up a point or two on this beer. It's really got a lot of redeeming qualities, and I think pouring it a little colder than it should have been at first was, might have made it seem a little harsher to me than it is now. So I think I probably would have come up a couple of points at least to like a 30, 35 or so, and then we're 7 points apart at least. It's good.
Overly enthusiastic myself, so if I'm sure we could come to a consensus within 7 points if we were drinking out of the same bottle, we were in the same place.
Yeah. Well, normally
can't do that for a while.
Yeah. Well, normally behind the scenes here is normally you guys have the same bottle but 2 straws, and they're in the bottle hole, and then that's how you get. And then
that's adorable.
Yeah, and then Cooper goes, "Okay, I'm gonna blow," and he blows it in, and then Brian drinks. It's a weird thing. Yeah.
And then we eat our Lady and the Tramp spaghetti where we each get at the opposite end of the strand. Yeah. It's just so cute.
It is cute.
And then you see us both in
you
the
guys need me to hang up. Sounds like you need a moment.
No, it's only better if you're here, Keith. Otherwise, then it's awkward if you're not here. Do you have any questions?
They're wheeling already.
There you go. Yeah. You have any questions for these boys?
So carbonic bite. What would that be a result of? Probably water.
Well, no, the carbonic acid is just CO2 in liquid. So, it is a spritzy effervescent beer, and I think maybe the carbonic bite, you want it to be spritzy. And you actually did a pretty good job getting all the, it should be medium high to high carbonation, and you got a lot of carbonation in the bottle, which is impressive. A lot of times you'd be faulted more for having it too flat. So I don't know that I would back off on the carbonation, in retrospect here, because I think it was just it would be served warm enough that carbonic acid wouldn't really bite the way it did when I was judging it the first time here. So again, that's where you would have gotten a point up, and that might not notice that as much. But
this one,
I
did bottle conditions that might have made it a little different on that bite, plus the haze. Y'all ended up pouring the whole thing out. Probably got the dregs of it.
Oh, we poured it gently, and I still have about half of the bottle left. So
it's same here.
It's definitely that haze is definitely in suspension. It was sitting in my fridge for a good long while before I judged the one at home before I brought it here and judged it. I guess it could have gotten shaken up a little bit in transit. I'm thinking about it now, but
probably that makes the most sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I did, the note I did write for you, Brian, that you asked me about earlier today, was that I was developing it for a wild beer experiment, and I kind of wanted to solidify the recipe around the yeast before going ahead and executing that, where I would just brew it and stick it in a cool ship outside overnight and then hopefully catch something friendly. Like, what other adjustments do you think would necessarily need to be made to the recipe that would make it more better, for lack of a better term?
Yeah. Well, your bitterness probably needs to be backed off. You want to keep it below 3 or 4 IBUs. If you're going to sour it, the bugs aren't going to be as happy. But yeah, this one feels a little higher, which for for the style, it should have a little more bitterness, but it's in this case, if you're going to sour it, you definitely want to back that off, and also use aged hops if you can. So it's going to be a different beer going in, but yeah, this can have 15 to 30 IBUs if you're just going by the style guidelines, and you want to get it well lower than that. So I would cut out most all of the bittering hops, put in a few old pellets, the oldest hops you have around or something, just to give it a little bit, but yeah.
Also, I think,
other than that, I think it's
right after I made it.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Keith.
So in retrospect, so I made it with a Belgian yeast. In retrospect, probably wasn't the best idea to get a good idea of like what it would turn out in the long run, roughly. Is there a better strain you'd recommend over a Belgian strain?
Well, I think Belgian strains were great. I think the strain you used gave it a lot of good character. Some of that will stay through into the finish, and a lot of the great, a lot of the best sour beers are made with Belgian strains, in my opinion. But you could try splitting a batch with some other yeast and sour them both and see where they go. But I think this is a pretty good base for a sour beer. It tastes like something that would sour well once they get that bitterness out of the way.
Yeah, having not tasted it at all, of course. I think Cooper's probably right. You slam that bitterness down because that's going to hide your malt flavors and all that kind of good stuff. And if you have a good fermentation, I don't think the yeast matters necessarily a whole lot because of the wild part is going to come through. And that's really what you want to focus on. So if you have a lot of that good malt up front, that's your yeast esters and your hops and all that kind of stuff are not going to sort of clash or override any sort of wild yeast that you have and flavors from that kind of stuff. So I think underdoing on the hops, that's really the key, right, Brian? Is that kind of, it's kind of what you're saying, right? But
go ahead.
No, I was going to say that's kind of what you're saying, but smarter than I did. I said it in a dumb way.
Well, people will understand it that way, so that's good. That's why we all work so well together.
You're right. Keith, do you have a recipe you can go through real fast?
Yeah, I start from distilled water and I rebuild using the tool on Bootersmith with the American lager profile. So Epsom salt, baking soda, gypsum, calcium chloride. And then for the malts, I use 10 pounds of Pilsner, 2 pounds of Pale. For the hops, I used East Kent Golding, 0.7 for 60 minutes, ounces, 0.9 ounces for 20 minutes, and a flame out 0.7. And then I used 10 ounces of creamed honey. There's a Trappist monastery not far from me that sells pretty nice creamed honey. And they were out of the regular flavor when I went and bought it, so I got the lemon flavored. I'm not sure how much that really added, though, especially with where I added it. And then I used WLP 570 for the yeast, just two vials of it.
Yeah. What is creamed honey?
I honestly can't tell you. I'm pretty sure it's unpasteurized to a degree, but I'm not a honey expert, so.
Okay, no, neither am I. I'm just curious.
Yeah, did it look super thick and kind of opaque and creamy looking, or was it clear? Yeah. Creamy. Okay.
So did you temp control your fermentation?
Not to the degree that y'all might be expecting. I stuck it in my mom's basement for a couple weeks and let it go.
Okay.
Creamed honey is a honey that has been processed to control crystallization. Creamed honey contains a large number of small crystals which prevent the formation of large crystals that can occur in unprocessed honey. The processing also produces a honey with a smooth, spreadable consistency.
Huh.
Yeah.
All right.
I bought it at a bread store. So yeah,
a bread store. Damn.
So the honey is going to more dry the body out, and that's good for the beer. You want some sugar in there. when you sour it, when you use a really dry beer to sour, the bugs don't have as much to chew on either. So you have to take that into consideration. It might not be a extremely sour beer. It might just be a lightly sour beer if the bugs do their work. But honey is fun to use in beers for sure, and that's an interesting one. I'm not really getting much lemoniness out of it, but the body did dry out nicely.
Well, that explains that kind of grapefruit character that I got as it warmed up in the flavor, kind of in the finish. And that's probably a consequence of the honey.
Think so.
Hey, are you in a homebrew club? I almost forgot to ask. How could I forget that?
You're out of
practice. Anticipating that early kind of threw me off. I'm in a club called the Social Fermenters. We're based out of House 6 Brewing in Ashburn, Virginia.
Nice.
And what are you guys doing in this era right now? Are you meeting online or doing anything events-wise?
Well, we had a Zoom happy hour just the other night. That's like the strongest degree. We're not really meeting up. Our president does have a lot of ingredients on hand. He works with the brewery that hosts us and gets a lot of the extras. And so I'll put a message on our Facebook group and say, hey, who wants a pound of Huel melon, for example? And whoever does will put it on his doorstep and he'd pick it up.
Wow.
He also has a yeast lab in his basement. He's the one I was actually going to collaborate with this beer with because he knows a little more about yeast. He's got this professional setup just in his basement. So he provides yeast pitches for a few of us as well. But
I just love that you guys are like casually
I'll put it on my porch and you pick it up.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I love that you guys are just casually tossing around pound lots of Huel melon.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I still have a lot left over. It's pretty interesting how little I actually use that hop.
I love that hop.
I was like, yeah, screw it. The pound sounds great.
Yeah, dude. That hop is so good. We did our beer camp beer, our Vienna Lager at Sierra Nevada a couple years ago, and that was the hop. I fell in love with that hop, and I'm like, I demand that we use this in the dry, and so we dry hopped with it. It was good.
Nice.
So good, dude. That's a good hop, man. But you can't dry hop.
We'll actually get into temp control. I'll save it for a Vienna Lager like you did.
Please do, man. Please do. Do we have any questions? Keith, do you have any questions for the guys and then vice versa?
No, I think I got most of my questions out. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Okay.
No, I think we're good.
Okay.
Yeah. I would say, too, if you want to learn a little bit more about sours and making sours and everything that goes into it, check out the Milk the Funk wiki or milkthefunk.com. It's just a really good resource for anyone making sours. And they probably have some good advice on there about primary yeast strains that work well with sours and about the bitterness questions and about Brett and everything else and all the different flavors that you can get in sours. So sours is a fun adventure. Have a good time when you get back to normal. And you have time right now to let something start souring. And then you can taste it 6 months from now.
Or all the time in the world.
There you go.
We've also got a show right here on the Brewing Network called The Sour Hour that's all about sour beer and making sour beer.
Mm-hmm.
I'll check it out.
Thanks, Keith.
Well, I got time.
All right, thank you.
All right, we'll talk to you.
Cheers.
All right, bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Cool. Good stuff. You know what else is good stuff? Of course, the folks at Duke Cannon. And they want to remind you that thick is in. And they have a whole line of thick, high viscosity body wash that is $9 each, or you can buy all four for $30, which is pretty good, man. And they have, like I said, 4 different scents. They have Accomplishment, which is a citrus profile with sandalwood and oak moss. Naval Supremacy, which is a refreshing ocean scent with notes of fresh water, musk, and bergamot. Old Glory, which is a rich, sophisticated, and classically masculine scent that blends notes of tobacco, cedar wood, and amber. And then Productivity, which is peppermint, pine, and eucalyptus, which I have, and I used not today because I haven't showered yet, but the day before I used. And I really like it. It's good stuff. And it is thick body wash. You do not need a whole lot of it. So if you're trying to save every dollar that you can, go to Duke Cannon. Use promo code BREWING and save 15% off your entire order. So don't only just get the body wash. Get whatever you want. They have that solid cologne. Basically, all of my grooming scents and liquids and whatever, all come from Duke Cannon. It's good
I got
stuff.
A little bit of that stuff from you, JP, and they have the ball powder. What do you call it?
Yeah.
Some other fun products. I got a little face wash from you, so yeah.
There you go.
Is this thick stuff THICC?
No, it's not thick in the way that the kids say. It's just thick as in like normal people talk.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's actually just thick.
Okay.
So go to DukeCannon.com, use promo code Brewing, save 15% off, free shipping for orders over $35. So don't forget that.
Cool.
So,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you forget your grooming products at the store and you don't want to go back, or if you're anything like me and you want to get as much stuff as you can online to limit the amount of time that you are in the store, DukeCannon.com. Or if you just want to smell good, DukeCannon.com. Promo code Brewing. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with some other beer. It's Dr. Homebrew. Stay with us.
Ma'am, I'll need to take your top off for this examination.
Oh, doctor.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It's Dr. Homebrew. Brian and Brian are still here, still going strong, apparently, for some reason, even though they are, one of them's in quarantine, the other one's at work. So that's how it goes. Let's get our next dude on the phone. Brian, who are we calling?
It is Nate from Wisconsin.
Nate from Wisconsin. Okay, we're going to talk to Nate. And apparently he has looks like a passion fruit Katarina sour.
Oh, that's for the next show. I think we're going to do the Kolsch.
Oh, it's Kolsch. Okay, perfect. Nate, are you there?
I am, thanks.
Hey, what's going on, man? Thanks for joining us.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for sending in some beers. I appreciate that very much. We're going to talk.
Sending direct.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to do a Kolsch right now. Is this your first Kolsch?
I've done a couple. It's been a couple of years, but it's my first beer in probably 2 years. So.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
What got you back into brewing?
Just missing it. I had kids in September of 2018, so just kind of getting back into things. So.
Okay. All right. I thought it was maybe the quarantine, but it's a different kind of quarantine.
It's a different kind of quarantine.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, Brian Scharr, let's jump into this, huh?
All right. So, Nate, I went to high school in Pulaski, Wisconsin. Where in Wisconsin are you?
So pretty much central Wisconsin. We're maybe an hour and a half north of Madison and an hour and a half west of Green Bay, Appleton area.
So you're like Stevens Point?
Hour and a half west east of Chippewa Falls, so pretty much straight in central Wisconsin.
Okay, nice. Yeah, Pulaski's right outside of Green Bay, so go Pack. And also, are you in a homebrew club?
I am. So
you want to give which one? Give them a shout out.
River Mash Masters is the name of the club.
Go ahead and say that again, Nate. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Wisconsin River Mash Masters is the club I'm in right now.
Nice.
Cool. So, excellent. I really liked this Kolsch. I thought it was really nicely done. It's a very difficult style because it's pretty light and there's not really a lot to hide behind. It's like making an American lager, American light lager, something like that. And it can be a little tricky because of, it is more of like a German ale yeast than a lager yeast. So it's not, necessarily intuitive for making lagers. Thought it was overall really well done. Aroma, got the classic Kolsch aroma, what I think of as the classic Kolsch aroma. Pilsner malt sweetness, just a slight green apple fermentation character. No hop aroma, no off aromas. It's just kind of light and clean and really inviting. Gave that 9 out of 12. Appearance, it did fall down a little bit in appearance. When I first poured it, it's sort of golden in color, which is a little darker than you expect. This is like a really, really light color beer. And it ended up being a lot more darker than I thought it was going to be. And what's interesting is I had a slight haze. When I judged this about an hour and a half ago, there's a slight haze here. And now having poured another And it's funny, having sort of interpolated the bottle by tilting it to pour my first sample to judge, and then I poured another one just to drink right now, and it's clear. So clearly I just did something wrong, or it's settled in the bottle or something. So I'm going to adjust on the fly here. It's also interesting, it is really fascinating how a beer can change between the time you write about it and the time you come back to it maybe an hour later. Stuff can change. So there's at this point, I wouldn't say there's any haze at all. The head is low and persistent. 2 out of 3 for appearance. For flavor, Pilsner malt leads off, along with kind of a medium-high bitterness. Get a very low, kind of a spicy hop flavor, I think of as kind of a noble hop. And when you tell us later about the recipe, I'll be curious about which hops you use. The balance is toward bitterness, which is not really quite what this style should be. There's a little minerality. The finish is bitter and long-lasting. It's kind of oriented. It's more balanced toward hop bitterness. Extremely well attenuated, so good job on that. Gave that 13 out of 20. Mouthfeel, body's medium. Carbonation in this bottle was, I thought, somewhat low, which is kind of contrary to this style. This is a very effervescent style, and I wanted a little more carbonation here. No warming, very slight astringency from minerality, which is okay. I didn't take any points off for that. With a 4 out of 5 for mouthfeel. Overall impression, you may not believe it from my comments. I really like this beer a lot, and I'll probably finish this bottle. I think I have 2 bottles. I'll probably finish that second bottle a little later. It's really good beer. I like the bitterness just from the standpoint of something that I like to drink. But when you judge, you're judging against the guidelines. And the guidelines are that this beer should not be as bitter as this beer is. If there were one thing that I would change on this, if I were you, would be back off hop bitterness, maybe a third next time you brew it, because it's somewhat too bitter right now. If you like drinking it the way it is, just keep making it this way. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But if in terms of competition, this is always going to get knocked down for being too bitter. And then carbonation is so difficult. I'll be curious later if you bottled this from a keg or did bottle conditioning. But if you keg, it's always so difficult to get the carbonation right in the bottle when you enter it to competition. But carbonation's a point. It can have some knock-on effects later on, but in terms of the number one thing I would probably modify in this beer for competition, it'd be cut back hops about a third. Overall impression, I gave an 8, though. So for a total score of 36, which is very good. I thought it was really well done and easily can, with a little bit of hop bitterness adjustment, this could easily be in the 40s, I think.
Nice. All right, Brian Cooper.
All right. The Kolsch, had a nice fill height, light hiss when it was opened. In the aroma, I'm getting a clean, medium, light, pills-like, grainy, sweet, slightly sweet malt up front. And that, like Brian said, is really nice, kind of where it should be aroma-wise. It was really inviting. The fruity esters are subdued, faint, get a little whiff of sulfur. You can get a little bit of that sometimes, but not super like DMS or anything like that. Just a little hint of that kind of lager-like character. So it seems like it was probably fermented pretty cold. Get a clean, floral, spicy hop at a medium-low level. No diacetyl, no acetaldehyde or anything like that. So really, really clean beer. Clean fermentation is evident here. Color-wise, it's a medium gold-colored beer. It pours in a medium fluffy white head that fades relatively soon after pouring, but had pretty good clarity. There's a little minor amount of haze, but overall, you'd want it a little bit clearer, but not to the point where I'd take a point off necessarily. It's good clarity, and yeah, usually they're filtered too brilliant. So, and when you have them over there, they're usually a lot lighter and a lot more, a lot clearer. So, I highly recommend going to Cologne if you can get over there, and it's a lot of fun to taste. And they're small sample sizes, so you can drink a lot of them. But usually you're just drinking at one brewery. Okay, I digress. Flavor-wise, it has a pleasant German maltiness, maybe a little bolder than you might get in some of them, but it's distinctly German tasting Pils malt kind of character, but rich. Not super over the top rich. It gets slightly covered up by the medium bitterness that's here, or perhaps also accented by some minerals in your water that are accenting that bitterness. Again, in the flavor, it seems cleanly fermented. There's not any real flaws to note here at all. Very clean. Hop character is just a low herbal floral note. The beer is definitely balanced to the malt, and mouthfeel wise, it's medium light bodied with medium low carbonation. I think the carbonation should be a bit higher. And to me, one of the main issues with the beer, in addition to kind of general boldness and slight darker than expected qualities, is that you really want a nice crisp mouthfeel, just refreshing and just floats off your tongue effortlessly, and you want another sip. This one's a little more challenging to drink. Not necessarily there's anything bad with it. It's just like, wow, that's a little bit bolder than I expect in a Kolsch, and it's not just crisp and light. And there's some of the best examples, just really just bright crispness that just goes zing, and you want another sip. I think that there could be a little bit of astringency in here. I'm not sure if it's just bitterness, but if there's any astringency in here. Sometimes it's hard for me personally as a judge to separate the two. That might be a weakness of mine. It's just like a lot of times when I get a beer that's too bitter, that I also get a little bit of, I feel like I'm getting astringency too, even though it's not like sucking on grape skins or anything like that. But they are, I think, kind of related. But overall impression, it's a well-made beer with really good malt character, fitting a German style. Kind of Kolsch-like. The aroma, again, was really inviting. I really like the aroma on this beer. If you keep that and lighten it up, and maybe back off, like Brian said, the bitterness a fair amount, at least a third, and maybe check your water profile, and if there's some mineral issues going on here, you could dial those back. But start with RO and build it up to a Cologne profile. But yeah, check the bittering hops especially, and if you feel like you're getting any astringency, just kind of watch the sparge too. Keep the pH below 6 and the temperature below 168 Fahrenheit, and don't collect past like 1010 or 1008 last runnings. So otherwise, it's a very good beer. I give it a 32. It's amazing how clean the beer is, and you're doing a really good job with your fermentation. So you're doing something right. You know what you're doing here, and it's mostly just kind of recipe and balance issues. So thank you for sharing it. It's an enjoyable beer. Like Brian said, you could drink a lot of this. It's really tasty.
You make me thirsty, Brian. Nate, do you have any questions for the guys? Any response to the master level BJCP guidance you just got?
No, I mean the feedback there is pretty awesome, and just looking at my recipe here, and as you guys are talking, I think I kind of know where I fell short there. So, again, with this being my first beer in a couple of years, my notes probably weren't the best. So out of a 10.5 pound grain bill there, at 7.5 pounds of, I put Avant-Garde. I'm thinking that was a pale ale malt and not a Pilsner Avant-Garde. So, I think that's probably where the lightness I'm missing on that. I think it was more towards the ale style. That's where the darkness is coming from. And then on my hops, I did 3 ounces of German traditional hops. I did 1.5 bittering hops, 1.5 ounces at 60 minutes, 1 ounce at 30 minutes, and then a 1/2 ounce at 10 minutes. And I'm wondering if I take that 1/2 ounce out at the 60 minutes and just do a 1 ounce, and maybe like a, go to that, just keep a 1/2 ounce at 10 minutes, or maybe put a 1/2 ounce in a whirlpool, something to that regard that might help out on that bitterness.
Sure, yeah. I think that would help.
Yeah, and then like astringency part, I was kind of interested in your comments there, because a lot of my beers I'm finding kind of just this off flavor, and I think I'm attributing a lot of it to my kegging system. I wound up changing some beverage lines, and that seemed to help a lot, but I still get this kind of back of the throat, almost like a plasticky flavor once in a while. I don't know if that's necessarily astringency, but a lot of my home brews kind of got the same flavor, and it seems to happen more once I go to keg. So it's either something late in the brewing process, or maybe it's with the fermentation there. But I was curious about your comments on the astringency. So I've been doing a lot of brew in the bag type, where I kind of do like a 2-vessel thing, where I pretty much mash in 1 vessel, and then I kind of do my sparge water up to 175, 180, and then kind of keep that at 170 for 10 minutes to kind of do a mash out type of process. So I'm wondering, what might people do to help that astringency? I heard a few things about pH and temperature there wise, but I typically try to hold the pH or the temperature around 154, 155. But I mean, that can vary a little bit. I mean, with doing a brew in a bag, it can change a little bit by the time you put your water and grains in there. So just curious on those off flavors, especially with astringency, how you might be able to improve on that. Because I think I know how to adjust for the color and the bitterness. I recognize that with my notes, but trying to get some of those off flavors is really where I'm struggling on some of these beers.
Yeah. With brew in a bag, you shouldn't get much astringency at all. So again, it might be the bitterness was playing in a way that it seemed like a little astringency. I think from dirty lines and things like that, sometimes you can get a little bit of bacterial growth in there, and you might get some kind of phenolics or some funkiness that gets mixed in just lightly with the beer. And phenolics can also give you a sense of a little bit of astringency. Yeah. But yeah, change those lines out, keep them clean, and clean your equipment well, and it seems like you really know what you're doing. But yeah, that I'm just giving the classic advice for astringency, but it's really, really light in this case. So I almost hesitate to even say that much, because it's not bad.
Yeah, I agree with Brian that it can be difficult sometimes to tell hop bitterness and astringency apart. And I tend to attribute whatever you're getting to more of hop bitterness. Having said that, did you talk about water adjustment and I just missed it? Did you adjust your water at all?
I didn't, no. And shame on me for not taking better notes here. I've done a couple of beers since here, but I think I just used our normal tap water. Whatever is typical central Wisconsin tap water here. A lot of times what I typically do is
that's well water or river water. Do you know the source of that?
Hang on, Brian. Finish up, Nate. Sorry.
Oh, no, sorry. Typically what I've been doing is doing more bottled spring water, or if I do use tap water, I try to put a chloramine tablet in there. I didn't write down if I used the chloramine tablet on this one, so I'm wondering if maybe some of those off flavors could be just the municipal water. But no water adjustments are made, just straight tap water. And I don't have a water profile from central Wisconsin here, no.
You know what? I think your water's fine. The reason I asked was sometimes if you are adjusting your water, people will go a little nuts and over adjust. You can get like a minerality and an astringency from your addition of chemicals to your water. So you can get like a metallic or salty or just like sort of a licking a rock type flavor, which I didn't get from this beer at all. But I'm just trying to think about running down where any of that possible astringency might be coming from. I always think about water treatment.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're brewing with the same water that New Glarus brews with, then you got a good start there. If your tap water is similar to theirs. They make some great beers over there. I love going to Wisconsin and tasting beer, man. Let me tell you.
Good. Yeah, pretty simple recipe here. I mean, just the 2 different kinds of grains, the German traditional hops. I did use the Kolsch, I think it's Lallemand envelope, just a dry yeast for that, and I think that's where that characteristic of the, fragrance comes from. But then I used a teaspoon of Irish moss for clarification, then a half a teaspoon of yeast nutrient. So I don't know if that yeast nutrient would be having some mineralness to it. I think maybe I went a little heavy with that. I think typically recommendations a quarter teaspoon, but just bump that up a little bit. Maybe that might be adding some things to it, but pretty simple recipe here for my first beer getting back into it.
Nice.
Kolsch is supposed to be simple, right? I mean, that's kind of the beauty of the Kolsch, is that it's simple and straightforward, and it's kind of exercise in your brewing skill in what you can make out of something that's actually a really simple, straightforward recipe and not a really big beer.
Yeah, and there's not a lot to hide behind either. So again, like you can't really mask off flavors with big hops that's there. So it's a delicate beer, and it's it's hard to brew well. So nicely job. This attempt is a good path along your way to that perfect Kolsch, and I know you're going to find it, man.
Nice. All right. Anything else, Nate, or we'll let you go?
Sounds good, guys. Thanks. Appreciate the feedback.
Thanks, man.
Hey,
thank you, sir.
Cheers. Thank you so much.
Bye. Cool. Well, again, another beer that sounds good.
Yeah, and we appreciate all these entrance efforts at sending us so much beer to so many locations. Maybe we'll even get JP some beer one of these times if someone's really feeling rich. But we do want all of our entrants to be safe and careful when you're going to the UPS or mailboxes, et cetera, wherever we ship your stuff. Just be really careful sending the stuff, and we're sanitizing on our end, and we are being careful with everything. Well, if it's sat on your, if it's sat for 72 hours, you're probably fine, Brian.
Yeah. I'm just joking. I'm just like, if I brought some of these over to JP, I just make sure I licked them real good first. Just make sure they were clean them off with my tongue beforehand.
That's true. Yeah. That's why you're the cat of the show.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Before we take our second break, I want to remind you guys about Manscaped. You're not really doing a whole lot, I'm sure, at home. Those of you who aren't working a whole lot like me, or looking for an escape. For those of you like Brian Cooper who are still working and then have to go home, check out manscaped.com and try shaving yourself. I don't know, man. They call it below the waist grooming, which is probably a better way to put it than what I just did. But that's why they write the copy and I just read it. It features it's called the Perfect Package 3.0 kit. And it comes with the new and improved Lawnmower 3.0, which I have and I used the other day. I love that thing, man. It was, it's no nick, right? You're not going to nick or cut yourself. And I was a little apprehensive because I hadn't used it up till this point. But I tell you, after a while, you start throwing caution to the wind, and I feel like only men can with that area on their body, right? Where you go
going to town on your sack.
Yeah, and you go like, well, you know what? Fuck it. If I cut myself, I cut myself. They told me I'm not going to. And I tell you what, you dig that thing in there, man. There's no cuts. There's nothing. It's perfect. It's the grooming tool that you've been looking for. So the Perfect Package comes with the 3rd generation trimmer, which is a cutting-edge ceramic blade. You also find the Manscaped Crop Preserver, which is an anti-chafing bald deodorant and moisturizer. And you can subscribe to the Perfect Package and get a new replacement blade refill for your lawnmower trimmer delivered to your door every 3 months. So you always have a fresh edge on that thing. It's always going to mow through your grass, so to speak. All that kind of fun stuff. So go to manscaped.com and use code BREWING. And for a limited time, you'll get not 1, but 2 free gifts. You'll get something called the Shed Travel Bag, which is a $39 value add, and the patented high-performance anti-chafing Manscaped Boxer Briefs.
Patented, huh?
Yeah, and I didn't know they had briefs, which makes total sense. And now I want some.
So, do you want to hear something fun?
Sure.
Before these guys were ever sponsors, I bought a lawnmower. I have the 2.0.
Nice.
And that thing's pretty badass. So the 3.0 must be like even more badass.
It's pretty good. It has a little light. And you know what? And when I saw the light, and we've talked about it on the show a couple times, like really a light? It's kind of weird, but okay, sure. It's just maybe one of those bells and whistles that looks cool. No, I used the light. Like it was, yes, it was actually very, very helpful. And I remember going, that's very strange. I actually like this thing. So
you can see what you're doing. Yeah.
You can see what you're doing. Yeah, it was just, and I don't know why. It's not like you need a pathway or you need to be careful unless you're going to do a design or whatever. But it just, for some reason, like, illumination, doing that in that area is very important. And I never realized before. So even though you can't cut yourself, it's comforting. So manscaped.com, 20% off and free shipping with code brewing. Check it out.
In these days, when you can't go out and get a haircut, at least you can keep your undercarriage looking happy and
looking
healthy
presentable.
There, so. Yeah,
absolutely.
Are you going to show us real quick, JP?
You want me to? I will.
Drop the trowel, bro.
Well, and with so they have a guard, right? And so it just takes it down to like a number 1 or 2. I don't know what I don't know what it is. Or you can go really, really tight with just take the guard off. So there are 2 options. I didn't know that when I was using mine. So anyway, check it out. All right,
useful.
We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come right back, and we're going to wrap things up. This is Dr. Homebrew. Stay tuned.
Hello, fellow BNers. This is Sully from the 21st Amendment Brewery located in San Francisco, just 2 blocks from Giants Park. Before Nico and I opened the 21A and before I was a professional brewer, I homebrewed on my small 4-burner apartment stove in a back house in Santa Monica, California, making my extract brews before graduating to the daunting idea of all-grain brewing. Homebrew books and information was hard to come by back then. The internet hadn't been invented yet, along with other things we take for granted today, like electricity and potable water. One thing I wish I had back then when I was learning was a radio show that could teach me the ins and outs of brewing and answer questions that I had about homebrewing, a resource for making great craft beer. The 21st Amendment Brewery is excited to be a proud sponsor of Dr. Homebrew, a great show that teaches you what you need to know about making incredible beer. Good stuff. Listen up, you might learn something. I certainly did. And thanks for your support. Tasty Crack Kings.
Dr. Homebrew, please report to the ER for code blue. Dr. Homebrew to the ER, please. Oh, and your tea time has been moved to 2:30.
Now back to Dr. Homebrew.
All right, thanks for joining us, everybody. Thanks for sticking with us, I should say. It's Dr. Homebrew. We're about to wrap things up. Thank you very much to Keith and Nate for sending in some beers. Thank you to Brian and Brian for setting up this technological web of communication that we're in right now.
For sure.
And we're going to talk to a few more people here coming up next. But if you are impatient, just go ahead and fast forward to the next episode, I suppose. And if you are at the last episode, go back. We have, 5 years or some of this, Brian, of Dr. Homebrew episodes to comb through. You can also listen to The Session, of course. You can also listen to, Brew Strong. They're still doing that show.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of cool stuff on the Brewing Network. And I will say, by the time this releases, I think we're going to have a T-shirt shop up on TeePublic. You can go to tpublic.com/ I think it's it's Brewing Network store, but like hyphens in between. I don't know. Just search Brewing Network on TeePublic. And you'll be able to order some of our old shirt designs as well, like the original BN Army logo.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It'll be a good time. And we have a new one up there, too, just for the lockdown. So we'll check that out by the time this airs. If you're listening to it now, just go over there, buy a shirt, support the boys here at the Brewing Network. We need it. We need your support. Like any other small business, the way we get paid is either donations. So you can go to paypal.com. I forget what. I think just go to the Brewing Network, and it'll tell you all the ways to donate. But you can donate via PayPal. You can sign up for a recurring subscription, and that supports the show. A good way also is to support our sponsors as well. So everybody who heard during the breaks, everybody who heard during our live reads, that keeps the lights on as well. You can also support us through our Amazon link right there. You're already doing some Amazon shopping. go ahead and use our link there. That really helps us in different ways as well. So support the Brewing Network. Keep us on the air. Stay safe.
Yeah.
Wash your hands. Stay home if you need to. If you don't need to be out, don't worry about it. Don't go to the beach. Brian Shaw, I'm looking at you.
Oh, look at that tan he's got.
Yeah.
Before we get too far from this T-shirt shop, is TeePublic going to have the classic lunch meat good noon shirts?
No, because I cannot find the original artwork for that.
Ah, damn it.
I know. So if anybody out there has that official artwork, because we didn't do that. We had 2 people do that. They were just listeners. I think Blobber did one, but it was like an MS Paint, and it looks terrible. I don't know if it'll print well. And then the other one, I have no idea. So I'm looking for that artwork. If you have it, send it to me, please, and I'll put it up there and we'll sell it.
I think a lunch meat shirt made out of MS Paint would be like just the classic shirt to have.
It is absolutely. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot. We're gonna get out of here. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other, and we'll see you.